welcome to Turnpaugh Talks. We're here with Tara, whom we did our very first audio podcast with, and now we're doing it. It went so well. We're doing it video as well. So we're going to start, and you are the IV nurse here currently at Turnpaugh Wellness Center, and we want to kind of walk down, just like we did on the previous one. How did you get where you are today?
So are we starting at the beginning?
Where were you born? No.
There was an egg. So I was a nurse on a Med Surg floor for 7 years at a hospital in Lancaster.
Great. And Med Surg is what?
It's basically mostly post-op, but you see a lot of everything. It's kind of the catch-all floor, so it's a great...
So slow down, because I may not be as smart as you. Post-op means what?
They've had surgery.
Okay.
They need a place to go.
After surgery.
After surgery, but it's not like they're going to go home within the next 24 hours.
Oh, okay.
So usually they have some more complicated procedure done or comorbidities that don't allow for them to just have the surgery, do a brief recovery, and go home.
Okay.
So they would come to our floor, and really when you go to nursing school and you come out and you're all fresh and shiny and new and you have these ideas of what you want to do, everybody tells you Med Surg is a great place to go because it's the meat and potatoes of nursing. Because you
Med Surg means medical surgery?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you see everything. And you have the most exposure to just across the health spectrum, from bowel surgery, which my floor was, that's what we specialized in, to people who've had bowel surgery, but then they also have COPD, or they have pneumonia, or they have a trach that you have to take care of. And so it's a great place to hold on to all of that knowledge that you've just learned and put it into practice.
Awesome.
It is. It was nice, but it was also very busy. There was not always the best patient to nurse ratio, and the population that we received was not always appropriate for the floor. So, like I had said before, they would punch them in the stomach and be like, oh yes, they need to go to the GIGU floor because now they have a stomach ache and that's what you deal with. And so...
That's where you worked for a while, GIGU.
Yeah.
And GIGU stands for?
Gastrointestinal and genital urinary.
Okay.
And so basically from the mouth to the exit is what we dealt with primarily, along with all the other things, including...
Psych.
Yeah, psych, definitely. And so I was there, and it was a great foundation, and I was looking to move on, but not able to let myself out of this comfort zone that I had of dependable job. I pretty much knew what I was doing when I went in, what I was getting into, which was like chaos usually.
Right.
And then I had a back injury, which I basically woke up one morning and was unable to move. I had extreme pain down the right side of my body, and it began like a 2-year journey of trying to resolve that issue, which ultimately ended up in my L4, L5 fusion.
So back surgery.
Back surgery, yes.
With a fusion, meaning
With a fusion.
Glued everything together.
After multiple attempts to do other things that failed, we ended in a fusion.
Okay.
Which is why I should have known you long ago.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And in the last podcast, I already had 3 people tell me that information is changing their life regarding one leg always being shorter than the other.
One leg's always shorter than L4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. So I told them to come here.
So just let's digress. It says if you have a disc bulge at L4-5 rather than L5-S1, that 100% of the time in my experience has been as a consequence of one leg being shorter than the other one. Because the stress shouldn't go on L4-5, it should go on L5-1.
Yeah.
So if you have a disc bulge or been diagnosed with a disc bulge at L4-5, I've never, ever, ever seen that in 25 years when a short leg was not involved.
So you're already changing lives, because I had 3 people and I said, come here.
Terry, you're changing lives because the only reason that they listened to it was because you were on the other side.
Because I tell everybody everything. And so I had said I wasn't going to go back after the back injury. Floor nursing, it becomes a whole different thing because you're moving people, you're pulling them up in bed, you're carrying them, their weight a lot of times in between transfers. And I felt like I was done physically, emotionally, mentally with hospital nursing. But when I got released to go back to work, I had no other plan in place. And so I was going to step back into the floor nursing role. And then I got hit by a car. So that obviously...
Which was a significant hit by a car.
It was a significant hit. I was on 7:43, 10:30 in the morning, 3 years ago, December 20th. And somebody had fallen asleep behind the wheel and hit me head on. And I ended up with 8 broken bones. Fortunately, I had my back brace on still, and they believe that probably saved me from further injury, and also probably saved my organs from being significantly injured by the seatbelt. So I ended up with another extended recovery and a lot of time to think. And I basically had my left arm to negotiate my whole world with. And I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. And I went home with complete nursing care. And I was a single mom to 4 children. Saying it now, I feel like, what?
What? What was that? I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I quit. And so it was probably all said and done about a year of recovery. And once again, I had said, wow, this definitely was a message from the universe to not go back to what I was going to do, which is stepping right back into this role that was no longer satisfying me on any level. And really, it's a disservice not only to yourself, but to the person you're taking care of. If you're no longer, and of course, I always took care of them, to the capacity in which I would take care of everybody.
Yeah, I don't know that you could be less than 120% compassionate. I don't know that it's in you to not have empathy and compassion.
I mean, I've tried. I've tried, but, Buddha says, take care of everybody as if they were your mother. Unfortunately, I like my mother, so mostly. Hi, Mom. And so it's just a disservice, though, because you're walking into something and eventually there is going to be some erosion of your ability to be completely present in it. And so in the time that I had to sit and think again, I said all of those things that I would not go back to floor nursing. This was a big wake-up call. I had been stopped stopped to a standstill again, just to be given the time to reflect upon the insanity of stepping right back into what I was trying to leave behind. So despite that, I accepted when it got time to go back to work, and I was physically able to. I accepted another position in a hospital and was there for 3 months on a Med Surg floor, and was very unhappy, and the schedule was not conducive to life. And when you work in a hospital, you're doing 3 12-hour days. Usually they give you 2 in a row, and then you have one somewhere in between there. But you have this hangover from the amount of energy on every level that it takes to care for people on a Med Surg floor, and then the demands of meeting the needs of the rounding physicians and the schedule of the hospital. And so it's really, even though people say only 3 days of work,
has a blast radius of 7.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was there for 3 months and falling back into these patterns and becoming disconnected from myself. sort of like a survival mode, and I got punched by a patient in my sternum. And so
This is when you were at Hershey, right?
Yes. And so
At Hershey Medical Center.
that was my whisper from the universe to get out. And so I left that night after I finished my shift, and I knew I wasn't going to come back, and I didn't really have any other plan, and I kind of put it out there and heard about this place, which we've discussed many times, how I didn't even know it existed, and it's 27 miles from my house, and offers all of these amazing services that you would never think of as being here in Pennsylvania.
That's interesting. So just a real quick aside, when we hired Cassandra, our family nurse practitioner who takes care of family medicine, when we put the ad out for family medicine, she almost didn't apply because she goes, there is no place out there that exists that really takes care of people. She was like, that's BS. Yeah. That's not real.
It's the unicorn.
I mean, there's really a place that practices old school, caring, compassionate, time spent with you medicine. So you didn't even know it existed. I don't know how we're the best kept secret.
Well, yeah. So now it's sort of, I like to ask everybody, do you know about this place? And word is spreading. So I came here and I met everybody, and I was here for my interview, and Heather, your wife, ended up being somebody that I knew.
Oh, you guys went to high school together.
Yeah, we went to high school together, and her mom was the, I guess, nurse assistant.
Yeah, nurse assistant. So she was like, yeah.
But she was like the main,
She was like the counselor.
I didn't even know we had another nurse.
There wasn't. So her mother was the nurse's aide, and the nurse would come one day a week.
Okay.
Or one day every other week.
In all my years there, never met her, and I was at the nurse's office.
A lot. Because the nurse's office is where you'd go for many reasons.
Oh, yeah. She was just a great comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And she also would cut to the chase and be like, now you have to go back and do what you're supposed to be doing. You probably know that about her.
I do. Yes.
She can love you just the way you need to be loved.
Right.
And so I felt, yes, this is obviously the place that I'm supposed to be. There's a person I know here, and all of these connections. And then I met the staff, and, there's not one that I could say that wasn't amazing and doing amazing things. And just the services that were offered here, it became a place that I wanted to work. And so I maybe stalked Heather a little bit too.
Oh yeah, you wanted the job early, and then you didn't get it early, or what happened?
Well, she was just unsure, specifically for the infusion program. I think she told me once that she likes things to fill up before she adds more, because that makes sense.
Right.
And so was there a need for me in that moment? I felt yes.
Of course there's a need for me.
Build it. They will
hire
come.
me now.
Yes. And so eventually I ended up here, and it's been amazing. And
so talk to me a little bit about, because we have a wonderful hour-and-a-half conversation on audio, which I'm sure people have already checked out. We'll check out. But tell me a little bit about what goes on in that special room called the IV room. And actually, there's more than one, two of them. But talk to me about what you see going on back there. And talk to me, and then I'll try and fill in any pieces I want filled in.
So there's a really unique opportunity for people who come for infusions. We have them for at least an hour usually. So you really, once you get the working part of it out of the way.
And what's in an infusion? Why would I get an infusion?
So right now, our primary formula would be called the Myers. It's based off the Myers cocktail. Mm-hmm. And it's high-dose vitamin C with magnesium, calcium, B-complex, and B12. And then at the end, we add glutathione. I would say I was thinking about this yesterday, trying to figure out our patient population. I want to say 65, 70% is probably Lyme.
Okay.
And then we have quite a few people who come for cancer treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
what that
no, they don't. They come
well,
to
they
support their
come
immune system.
to support their
They
immune
just happen to
system.
have cancer.
They just happen to have cancer, and that looks like either they're doing it with some other therapy, or they're choosing to do this in conjunction with something that they've decided for themselves, or they have another provider that they're working with, and so we support them in that.
But we have patients who come in for optimal health too. Right?
Oh
They
yes,
just come
we have
in.
people. So flu season is upon us.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people who are coming weekly. We have one person who's coming twice a week, and the whole goal is to just avoid
Getting the flu.
getting the flu. Somebody, one of them has reactive airway disease, and said that this is the first year where a respiratory illness hasn't settled down into their lungs and created a huge issue.
So you have IVs for supporting the immune system in ways that can support any kind of physiology, but also promote wellness.
Yes.
So I know you do like the Myers cocktail, the Mitchell cocktail, amino acids, NAD, alpha-lipoic
ALA,
acid,
yes.
alpha-lipoic acid, phosphatidylcholine. All these things have benefits from anybody who wants to improve cognition in their brain, all the way to I'm sick and I need some support for my immune system.
Yes.
But there's other magic that happens beyond just getting an infusion back there, isn't there?
Well, yes. I always tell people, and it's very true. So I usually know who's coming in. Even if we haven't met before, I've gone through their chart and I have an idea of why they're coming to see me. And we discussed this in the other podcast, but most of these people have been on, especially the more ill folks, have been on quite a journey to get here. And so it's sometimes very emotional. Even just getting a needle stuck into their arm can be a process that causes them some anxiety. So I really try to set an intention before they come, make sure that I am present with them. Even when I'm sticking them with the needle, we take a little breath and I just remind them to breathe. And I sometimes, depending on the person, just tell them like, think of this as preparing yourself to be ready to receive this healing, elixir. And then they're usually there for about an hour, sometimes less. The well people come in, we kind of get it done,
right,
and they're going about their day. The people who are a little more chronic, they're getting a higher dose. They're with me.
You're seeing good results with this?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm a big fan and believer because not only is there studies that support the benefits of vitamin C, and unfortunately, in the United States, there's a little lag time between what European countries are doing. But in European countries, if you go into a cancer center, this is part of their standard protocol for care. We are starting to see it here for sepsis treatment because it's a great antiviral, anti-inflammatory. It's just that we're a little slow in the uptake, and there's probably many reasons for that, some of which are political, some of which are have to do with pharmaceutical companies, and people often ask, it's so inexpensive, it seems so easy. Why isn't it being used more often?
But it's not covered by insurance, is
But
it?
it's not covered by insurance.
Okay. But to a chronically ill patient that feels better, I don't think they care.
And that's what we see. And I'm we really work hard. Yesterday I was here. I spent the whole morning. I'm calling around to all of these compounding pharmacies, and I'm really working hard to make sure that we're getting the best product, the cleanest product for the least amount of money so that we can pass that on. Because everybody that comes here, even if you have tons of money, I still try to be mindful of it. But there's a lot of people that work hard to be here.
Yeah, I say it doesn't matter if you're Bill Gates or you're poor. We're still supposed to be stewards with your pocketbook. We're supposed to be that steward for you, doing what's best for you at the best price.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you can afford it.
And also with the best product.
Correct.
Yes.
Well, we start with that. We're going to only use good product.
Yes. And so I get to be with people, and we build these relationships. And one of the things that I actually love, and we have some people who want to come and they want to be by themselves, and we provide that opportunity. And we have some people who come and because of different reasons, they, cannot be around other people.
Right.
overstimulation. But then we have people who come and they love to have the connection. If it's just me, I try to make sure that they're doing okay. I check in. If they have anything that they're concerned about, I'll try to meet with the person that they see here and just give them a little heads up. A lot of times, like Dr. Shannon, yourself, stop by when they know that they have a patient in the IV room.
It's fascinating to me every time I stop by the IV room and pop my head in, when there's more than one person. It's as if perfect is a 10 and one of the patients is at an 8 but started at a 2 and the other patient's at a 2, the person at the 8 pulls the 2
Yes.
up. It's always as if, I know where you've been. I was there. You're going to get better. And just this sense of community that says, I know what you're going through. I got it. And I think you're kind of the MC of that whole piece, because, you don't just say it. You kind of exude it. You just kind of ooze compassion and love in a happy way. It's not a, oh, you're here, you're sick. I know. It's a yeah, I know, you're going to get better way. And without we've had some people in the past that tended to be a little bit overbearing with the care and mine. And you're like, no, it's just, you're going to get
It's
better.
all of ours. Yeah. And the more that we appreciate what all of us do here and pull each other's resources in, the more we're giving to this person who has usually had quite a journey to get here. And I love so we also get, you come by the IV room sometimes and we're in there laughing and people are having a great time.
But you're laughing with people that may not have laughed for 5 years. It's hard to be, we discussed this at the last podcast because, if I may, when you went through your car accident, it was traumatic. And it created a lot of stress to get back into a car again. And that stress is invisible to others, very real to you, but invisible to others. And people suffering, you said 60% of the patients in the IV room might be Lyme disease patients. Now, they're not getting antibiotics back there, right?
Right,
so,
no.
But they're getting support for their immune system.
Yeah.
They may be on antibiotics, but they're not getting antibiotics through the IV.
Correct.
And though the beauty is they have this disease or illness, which many people told them wasn't real. Many people told them didn't exist. Many people told them they were just depressed. And they're finally at a place where they can heal without all the confirmation bias that nothing's wrong with them. And it's not, you can't see it on the outside. Now, sometimes they're in wheelchairs and sometimes they've lost their vision and sometimes they can't speak well. But many times they just feel terrible. So to look at them, they're like, what's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with you. It's like the invisible illness, so common with Lyme disease. You didn't have the Lyme disease at the time, but...
Well, I can check that off my bucket list, though.
You do. You have since been diagnosed with it.
Indoctrinated.
What?
Yeah.
You've since been diagnosed with it, but you didn't know you had it at the time, but you still suffered with a little bit of, just because I look okay doesn't mean I'm not afraid to get in that car and drive away.
Yeah.
And so I'm suffering, and I think the ability to just pass that empathy on to people. When I hear a patient laugh who I've sent back to you for IV, who my heart breaks for because they haven't had a good laugh in years, I mean, you just bring out the best. You just bring it out of them. And the person next to it spills. Laughter is contagious, and happiness is contagious. And I don't know that I've ever gone in that IV room and there wasn't happiness and joy back there.
No, we get pretty joyful, and it's just also beautiful because people connect to each other. And just the other day, I had somebody who was asking for the other person's email, and they share information, and they create these connections, and some of them go on to be activists in communities regarding their disease process and pull other people in. And it's just an amazing opportunity for the people who are open to that, because again, there's not everybody wants to come. Some people want to come and have their moment of peace.
Right. You can get your own private room,
and
so
just
to speak.
infuse, yes.
But there's people, it's amazing to me, people have left here from hundreds of miles away, and they began like the support group for this condition that they had that they no longer have, and they're going to spread the good news of how to get better.
Yes.
Not here per se, but just get better. There's a way out of this hole.
Yes, there is hope.
Yeah, there is hope.
And
Big
I get
thing
to
is
see
hope.
it. And
I was listening to my Alzheimer's talk last night, and put up the phrase that Suzanne Jones, who's like an amazing healer here too, false hope is only to those who don't see the hope. Hope is there.
yes.
If you choose to ignore it, you're just basically indoctrinating yourself into the misery. Oh, I'll never get better. There's no cure. There's no hope. Well, there is hope.
And
False hope is only those that don't see it.
that's the one thing that I will say too about working here is I don't ever hear anybody say, no, it's not going to work. We can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's always, let's give it a try. And people come into the IV room and they oftentimes have done a lot of research on their own, and they're bringing me some information, and they want to give something a try. And so I'll bring it to you, and I'll say, well, this is what they're asking for. Can we do it? And if it's relevant to their care, you try to get it in as soon as possible. Sooner than possible. You would like it now.
Can we get that yesterday?
Yes.
You know, I say to every new patient, let's just get one thing out on the table. I'm going to make a mistake in your care. Hopefully it's not a big one, and hopefully I'll self-correct, but I'm going to probably make some kind of small mistake in your care. But it's the willingness to say, I'm going to fix it, or I'm going to keep learning and keep trying, you know.
And I hear your fan club and Dr. Shannon's fan club and Dr. Brow, because people come and they tell me how unwell they were and how unheard they were. And now they're at this place where they are returning to wellness and they're being heard, and they can call in and they can have this concern over and over again, but they're never told,
You're crazy.
You're crazy. It's not a concern. Stop worrying about it. I don't want to hear about it again. They're always heard. They're always given that space to be who they are. And then I have the unique opportunity to hang out with them, and you know, we form these relationships with each other and with the providers. And I think it's the part of functional medicine that really I connect to, because we're here in each other's space, and we're touching each other in many ways, and having this time that's not dictated by some other bureaucracy. And so it's organic and it becomes dynamic,
Right.
And it's beautiful.
It's impressive. And I would say that, you know, you just tend to cultivate, and it's just amazing how a sense of healing in your presence back there with the IV. I think I could probably go back there and just sit in the IV room and not get an IV and feel better at the end of the day.
We do have one person that used to come for IVs that's now doing well, and she's like, "Can I just come and
hang out?"
Sure, we have plenty of room back here. So yeah, it's an amazing opportunity across the board, and so different from the hospital experience I had, in that I am seeing people become better, become more well, empowered.
Well, it's not just fun. It's people getting better. It's the
Yeah.
story of, you said, this person doesn't need IVs anymore, but she still wants to be part of
Yeah.
this. Or the activists, which we've had many who leave, who aren't all local. They're from all over. And they're like, I didn't know this place existed. I didn't know this type of therapy existed. And we discussed earlier, we had Dr. Lynn Panettone on the show. And we were saying, you know, total social, emotional, physical, spiritual, mental well-being, it goes beyond, oh, I see this is low, take this is wrong, do this. It's reaching out to that person, compassionate community. Yeah.
And that's where you first start to change the immune system too.
Right.
That's my favorite thing that I learned from mastering functional blood work.
It starts with caring.
Which I have not yet mastered. And I think it's important, especially as you see in this area, and, you know, I guess it's probably a trend other places too, these infusion offices popping up sort of in the mall, wherever, and people are questioning, like, what do we do here differently? And it's really that. It's the attention to care. It's the fact that there's
the human quality.
The human quality, also the standard of care, also the fact that we, you know, with a well person, it is a different situation as far as having them come here and they're just looking to have this boost or do something preventative. But with like our patients who are chronically ill, there's just a whole nother level of consideration that goes into what we're doing for them and how careful we need to be and aware we need to be of all of their other underlying conditions. So you're not just coming in and we're not just having you sign a waiver saying, it's okay, do whatever you want. We're at least having that moment where we get to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, interesting point that with few exceptions, it's a detailed medical history that have been screened and sent before they get to you.
Right.
So it's not, I walked in and it's a Friday, somebody drank too much on a Tuesday night and they're coming in Wednesday just for hydration and they're super healthy. These are people that are pretty ill who need specialized care, which we can deliver specialized IV to.
And we do have people who just come because...
Sure, yeah, that happens. There are those people that choose to do that, right?
So yes. So I would love to see more people. I mean, I always say when somebody comes back after they've discontinued IVs for a while because they were doing really well and they're coming back just to maybe give themselves a little boost or because they were exposed to somebody who is sick or because they feel something coming on. And I always say, well, I'm sorry that you're back in my chair, but I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah. Well, and I'm your best customer. Like I'll work 12-hour days and it's a Friday or something. Like, can you just give me an IV and give me a boost? Because I'm a little run down. I mean, I want to get to it before it gets to me, whatever it is. And so...
And I'm really excited about the new things that we have coming down the line.
Such as?
Well, like the ALA and the...
Phoscholine?
Yes, phoscholine, which I've been reading up on, and it's just all over great.
Yeah, I've done that myself, actually, at the Mannheim office. I did the phoscholine, and I did the alpha-lipoic acid, and I'm usually the first guinea pig anyway, so,
Yes, yeah.
I'm afraid to be the guinea pig. So let's divert a little bit. Let me intentionally screw up this word, anthroposophysicity.
Anthroposophical.
Yes, because you are an anthroposophical nurse as well.
I'm working towards my certificate in
So what does that even
nursing.
mean? It's not like the study of archaeology.
No, or anthropology.
Yes, right.
No, it's so my daughter goes to the Susquehanna Waldorf School in Marietta, which is a beautiful school.
Oh, I actually lived in Marietta.
Yes. So did you ever go to the Waldorf School?
Never.
Oh,
I went to Rivermore.
Okay.
Riverview.
Yes.
Riverview.
Yes. Oh, I learned something new about you
First and
every
second
day.
grade, I went to Riverview. Yeah.
Okay, so you're a river rat.
I was a river rat. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So the foundation of Waldorf schools, they started basically because I believe the owner of the Waldorf Astoria asked Rudolf Steiner, who was a German philosopher, to start a school where it was such that children would never think of war. Or, It was really about tending to a child's soul and sort of allowing them this pure childhood, which sounds ideal in today's world, but they really do a great job of maintaining that truth. And so he also has anthroposophical nursing, which kind of it all pulls in together along with biodynamic farming. He was the father of that. And anthroposophical nursing would be... I would consider it holistic nursing before that word existed, and it just is looking at you as a whole, your spirit, your mind, your body, your soul, how it's integrating into this world, how it's reacting. And he would say illnesses would be a result of some kind of karma that you have to resolve because you've made an agreement to be here. And that's probably a little far out for some people. I think it's very interesting, though, to think about as we learn more about how trauma is passed down genetically.
Right.
And it actually creates one of those little...
methylation caps.
Yes.
Epigenetic passing on of traits of personality. We were talking about that today. We're talking about an epigram, or what was it called? Remember what that was called today that I have to do with Dr. Panettone? A genogram or something. And anyway, so I don't know the name of it. I have to do it. But it's basically how your emotional traits are passed down. Some of them can be learned because you saw abuse in your household, such and such. But some of them are epigenetically passed down. as traits through 4 generations.
And so when he uses the word karma, now I think, okay, perhaps that was the word that he was available to him.
Instead of epigenetics.
Instead of what we're looking at now. And so then in anthroposophical medicine, you do a lot of alternative treatments, mistletoe, using compresses.
Mistletoe, by the way, which 80% of cancer patients in Europe get.
Yes, as standard treatment.
Right.
Not alternative.
Right. Well, alternative is only something different
Correct.
than the norm, and the norm in the United States is different than the norm in Europe.
That is very well said. And so it really resonated with me, and I'm continuing to. There's a lot. You could probably spend your whole life studying anthroposophy, and
it's
still,
a mindset, isn't it? A way of life, though.
Yes. Yeah.
So, do you do biodynamic farming?
So Dale, my partner, is just completed his biodynamic.
He's not just your partner, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. He's your life partner.
Sink.
Yeah.
So he completed his year-long farmer's training, and it's really actually interesting, and I wish I could articulate it better in this moment, because a lot of how you would practice in biodynamic farming with making preparations for the soil to essentially what you're trying to do with the body or the soil is enliven it. So eventually you have your own resources available in that environment to respond to whatever comes down through the soil into your body, and is able to take care of it without any outside influence. And a lot of times when you look at it mirrors. So if you're making a preparation or creating compost to remedy something in your soil, you're going to use a certain combinations of herbs to enliven like the liver of the soil. And it's very similar to what you would do. So what do you want? You want something to detoxify. So you would do the same preparation for yourself. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. We had our 8x8 wellness class here, and I went and spoke at it's 8 weeks where you learn how to be well. Very cursory, but it's a lot for diet, and people did it for kind of weight loss, but we take into account stress and sleep and different things in the 8x8 program. And they asked me to come in and do a little lecture for them, and I said it kind of went all over the place, as I usually do, but the soil we grow our food in is dead. We put pesticides on the soil to keep the bugs away, but all of our probiotics and all of those bugs, they're supposed to be in the soil.
Exactly.
And then in our food, they're microscopic, so we couldn't see them. But that's where you get like sauerkraut from. You take it, you put it there, bury it in the ground for 6 to 8 weeks, and then you pull it up. And
that's biodynamics.
That's biodynamics. And so it's just simply how things are done in some communities still. They take their cabbage, which has tons of bugs on it, as long as the soil's alive. And I made the statement, which was kind of shocking to some, but it's just facts. 90% of the cells inside your body are not human. 90% of your cells are bug cells. And 99% of the DNA inside your body is bug DNA. It's not even you. You're more 90%, if you call it DNA, it's 99%, not human.
That's pretty amazing.
And so the biodiversity of your microbiome, your gut bacteria, express health in your body, which you can't get unless you're getting food from live soil. So they say, what kind of probiotics do you take? And I say, whatever's supposed to be in the soil. Like, you don't have to think about it. 1,000 years ago, you didn't go to the health food store and buy a certain strain of a probiotic. You just ate food.
Well, I was actually just thinking about that with B12, which I've been reading about, and how it's basically a bacteria that is created.
Right. So we say B12 only comes from meat. It really doesn't come from meat. It comes from the bug inside the animal of the meat.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah. And then we become so clean that we don't allow that natural exposure to occur. And that's really, so biodynamic anthroposophical nursing, that's what it's about, is just creating the optimal environment where the systems work independently of needing any outside resources.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
How many IVs did you do before you started working here?
Oh, none.
I think this is another beautiful thing is this was the right place for you to be, and you had never done an IV before you started here.
Yeah,
But
they don't let
you've
you
done
do that
thousands
in nursing
now.
school.
Yeah.
Yes, this week was actually very busy. We had, I believe, 7 new patients. And as soon as I came in today, Taylor wanted to talk to me because she's like, I have to talk to you about your schedule. I have all of these people waiting to get in. And I like to think it's because of our podcast that they now see what a fascinating person I am.
I think I will tell you that. I mean, I'm very blessed as a human being, but I am extremely blessed that you run our IV program.
Well, thank you. I feel the feeling's mutual, and I'm just working with all of these great people and also getting to take care of these amazing people and be part of their journey.
You don't just take care of you're just such a huge safety net for them. It's a compassionate way to interact with them. You're just such a beautiful cushion for them to kind of fall into when they need some help. And we do try to pride ourselves by spending time with patients, but unfortunately there's no shortage of sick people, and you get the opportunity to spend an hour with them, sometimes longer at a time, and quote unquote bathe them in a bath of compassion and caring. That's the intangible. Anybody can stick a needle in someone's arm and let the fluid drip into it, but the environment they're in when they're receiving that, which, by the way, big news since our last podcast. Big news.
Oh, I was thinking you were going to tell me something. So I'm going to start the working towards my family nurse practitioner. February 24th, I've been accepted into a program. I just have to get one statistic class out of the way. And in 3 years, I'll be a nurse practitioner.
Which we were talking to Dr. Brow because he's also going back for his nurse practitioner degree. But so tell me where that takes you.
So
what does that mean to you?
It just means that I'm expanding the realm in which I can care for people. I have a little more empowerment. I'm also able to do more. One of my goals will always be to provide care in the community, hopefully here.
If I have anything to say about it and there's a breath in my lungs, we'll keep you here. Yeah.
I also want to do it with the functional medicine anthroposophical focus, which I know there's a lot of people from the Waldorf School that would love to have somebody, a practitioner in the community, because the person that we all used to see has left. And so that's what I want to do. I just want to continue to expand and grow and be able to provide care across the spectrum.
Do you feel like you found your niche in healthcare? I mean, is this where you want to be?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. I was saying this before, my worst day here, I don't even know, because at the end of the day, you're still so cared for. And if Suzanne sees that I'm tired, she's like, let me rub your feet for a little while. Or if I need an adjustment, everybody takes care of each other. And then it's just such it more closely aligns to the way, well, it aligns completely with the way that I would want to be as a practitioner, the care. I cannot do factory medicine, because
we try to create a safe space for our patients. We also try to create a safe space for our employees.
Right.
So
yeah,
and we've had 1 or 2 times where we had somebody that didn't create safe space, and we loved them, but we're like, this isn't the right home for you right now. Right, it's not the safe space. You're not creating safe space. It's safe for you, but it's not safe for everybody around you. So.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of responsibility here, and we have a lot of opportunity here, and I feel like it's being utilized for both the patient's sake and for the practitioners that work here, and it's great to be part of that, and it's great to come in here and have this sense of we all cohesiveness. We work together. Nobody owns anybody. We're here to make somebody well, and whatever that looks like, we're going to do it.
And I know I've seen, I kind of go in my office here, and sometimes I don't see what's going on. I kind of bury myself in patients and work and research. But I've seen many a staff member get an IV when they're feeling a little run down.
Yes.
I'm like, so we take care of our own too. It's great.
I think that's a great opportunity too. because people start to feel, oh, I have a little scratch in my throat, my ears are starting to hurt, and I'm like, right away, let's just nip that in the bud. Last week, I think I did 3 staph IVs because of this respiratory illness that's going around, and all of them are doing well. It knocked it out of the park. So I think it's a great opportunity to not only allow your employees to come to work and feel well,
Right.
but to also speak to the benefits of these, because that's part of what is important. It's sort of knowing what the experience is, and now they do. And when they schedule somebody for the IV, they have that personal story to tell them.
And you know, it's interesting. You do these IVs, but you live this. I mean, you live it. It's your life. This isn't something you clock in, do an IV, and go home and, you know, drink your Jack Daniels, smoke your cigarettes. You know, like,
Right.
I mean, you live a lifestyle.
There is a little whiskey. The Irish in me says yes. My cells say no. But
but it's just something you embrace as a human being.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're super compassionate here and you leave and you're nasty. You're just... It's who you are.
No, I try to. My kids may tell you I have a little less empathy for them. Sometimes they wonder when they hear patients tell them how wonderful they think I am.
It's not your job to be your parent's friend. It's your job to be their mother.
Yeah. But it's so important, especially with nutrition, especially as we see the rate of chronic health issues increasing, especially as we see the rate of kids being medicated. Like, in my opinion, when you know better, you do better. And when you know better, you carry a responsibility to at least share it with one other person, if not many other people, just so that they have that information. Because if you don't have any information, then you don't have any options, and then you don't have any choices. And so I take it out there. Of course, am a big fan of the IV program, and I'm recommending it to people. Also, the Turnpaugh Health and Wellness Center, when people are looking for something that they didn't think existed, it's great to say, I know where this place is now.
So what do you think is a message that you could convey that maybe isn't out there? Maybe it's out there in your mind, but you know, if you were plopped into the general public and somebody said, tell me something unique. I mean, you might say everything's unique, but tell me what you think is unique about you as it pertains to IVs, as it pertains to the whole, like, what's unique about this office?
I believe in the understanding of the human condition, the ability to negotiate. I use the word contract a lot. Just negotiate a course with that human condition, understanding the whole time that the person before you is organic and dynamic, and that there's no box or pre-written course that might be applicable for everybody. And so you assess and you adjust and you carry on, and that you don't have to feel ill. You don't have to live with chronic fatigue. You don't have to feel crazy because you have these symptoms that nobody else believes or are in your head. There's an answer out there. And it might not always be the easiest one, and it might not always be the first one that you come to. But here, I think the biggest difference that I notice on a daily basis is that people are feeling better. And if they're not feeling better right away, at least they're given an answer as to why, or, okay, well, we'll try something else, or you're right, we tried this and it didn't work out. It's not, well, I don't know what I'm going to do for you. Here's another pill that you can take, or I think you're crazy. It's in your head. And
it's, to piggyback that, even within the office, it's very collaborative. Like, well, if you're not getting better with Dr. blah, 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 go see Dr. blah, 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 right? Just switch your doctors within the office with the same mindset of thinking. Maybe a different perspective is what you need.
Yeah, I think that you have all of these great minds available, and everybody uses the other person's mind at some point in time.
Right.
Because everybody has their different specialty and their different exposure. And sometimes, I've heard you say many times that it's just, I need another set of eyes to look at this because I'm missing something.
Right.
And I think that's unique and amazing, and something that you don't get maybe in a more ego-filled medical community where you have to be the person that figures it all out. Or
yeah, some people, they live to be the smartest person in the room, and my goal is to be in a room full of smart people.
I often find myself there. And also, the best testimony I could ever give you is the people who I meet that say, this office has changed their lives. You have changed their lives. Dr. Brow has changed their life. You know, there's a testimony for every provider here. Somebody who is touched deeply, whose course of illness was altered, and who has just recognized that and is so grateful for it. And to be around that it's just a blessing.
Well, you're truly a blessing to this office. I mean, it starts with you, I can say. You know, people like you and Suzanne, they exude energy that we all kind of draw from. It's pretty amazing. So,
Well, thank you.
well, thanks, Count, for coming in and doing a video podcast.
Oh,
If you
yes.
haven't, anybody who's listening, if you haven't listened to the audio podcast, really, that was our first go round, and it was so organic and easy, and it was almost as if we could have went on all day. We just had to stop at the 90-minute mark. It's long, but listen, if you spend any time in the IV room with Tara, you're going to want more of Tara, and the way to get it is through the podcast. I can't tell you how many people even in the past week are like, I loved it. I listened to the whole thing. We're like, has anybody listened to 90 minutes of Tara talking? And they were like, can you do more? Well, we've just
Nobody
done
in
more.
my family.
Well, we've just done more. So thanks so much for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you.